Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Baseball Insiders. You might notice immediately, especially if you're watching the stream, that it is not Robert and Adam today. We're changing things up. We're doing something a little bit different today. It is myself. I'm Ian McMillan. You can find me on Twitter at IanMacBets, joined by Peter Dewey at Peter Dewey2. We are two editors with Bet-Sided. So we are going to do a little bit of a sports betting twist here. We're going to do this often throughout the season. And what better way to start off previewing a series from a betting standpoint than to talk about the Yankees against the Blue Jays. As you might be able to tell immediately looking at Peter's background and the jersey that I'm wearing, I'm a Blue Jays fan. Peter's a Yankees fan. We're going to be talking about more teams throughout the season, but we figured for the first time doing this style of show, let's just talk about our favorite teams because they're facing off against each other, a 3-game series over the weekend in New York. So we're going to go through game by game. We're going to give out our picks, and we're going to talk some other odds as well. We already have odds available for Friday night's game and Saturday afternoon's game. No odds available for Sunday's game yet, but we do know the pitching matchup, or at least the expected pitching matchup, so we should be able to touch on that as well. We're also going to talk about some key storylines. This is obviously a big matchup in the AL East. AL East, once again, the most competitive division in all of baseball. I think 4 teams with winning records already. Peter, how are you doing?
Doing good, Ian. I'm excited for this series. I think, like you said, this division is every game within the division, no matter who you're playing, is going to matter so much this year in the AL East because, I mean, Boston's in last place. They're 500 on the season. Like, it's just a crazy, crazy start to the year. So any win you can get against a division opponent, obviously these teams are going to play a ton of times, is going to loom large down the stretch, especially, whether you end up in the wild card or if you actually win the division. I think that's the key here after watching the wild card last year, how teams the Mets won 100 games and they got bounced before even reaching the NLDS. So
Yeah.
The division means a lot more, I feel like, than it has in past years. So it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, and just speaking of division, the Yankees were the preseason favorites. I think the Jays were second to win the AL East. The Rays third. Things have flipped now. Heading into tonight's action, the Tampa Bay Rays, after their hot start, they are now the betting favorites to win the AL East at even money plus 100. Yankees coming in at second plus 180. The disrespect for my Toronto Blue Jays plus 350 to win the AL East. If they win tonight, if they beat the Yankees tonight, they will be tied with the same record. They'll both be sitting at 12-8 right now. Blue Jays 11-8, Yankees 12-7. This series is in New York. I'm living in New York. I will be there 2 games. I'll be there tonight. I'll be there Sunday. Staying away from the bleacher creatures. I sat there once for a Jays-Yankees game. Thankfully, I wasn't wearing any Jays gear. I will be wearing my Jays jersey tonight, and I don't want a beer thrown at me. If I'm going to ever sit in bleacher creatures again amongst those degenerates, I need to have backup, and I'm going by myself tonight. So I'm going to sit somewhere else in the stadium. I'm going to leave that to be a little bit of a mystery so I don't get any beer cans thrown my way. Yeah, let's just talk about overall storylines heading into this series, and then we're going to break it down game by game and talk about some series odds as well. Peter, why don't you start with some key storylines for the Yankees heading into this 3-game set with the Jays?
Yeah, I think the biggest one for the Yankees is just the injuries right now. Giancarlo Stanton's on the IL with a hamstring injury. They don't have Carlos Rodon. They do not have Luis Severino. That's their number 2 and 3 starters. So the big thing in this series, and we're going to talk about the pitching matchups, like the Yankees definitely pitching-wise do not have an advantage. They also don't have Jonathan Loáisiga, one of their best bullpen arms. So they're in a spot right now where 12-7, I think, been a good start. I know there's probably Yankee fans out there absolutely panicking because they're not off to the same start they were last year. But you look at this team, they have a ton of key pieces out of the lineup. I think that one gives the Jays a little bit of an advantage that they might not have had if the Yankees are at full strength in this series. But also just for early on in the season, how long can the Yankees tread water until some of these guys come back? That's the big thing. How long can you get away without Rodon and Severino in the rotation? And how long can your bullpen, because they've been taxed pretty strong the first couple weeks of the season, how long can they hold up having to pitch 4 or 5 innings in several games every week?
Yanks go yard, 27 rings. What a classic. Stay on brand, Yanks go yard. Check out that podcast as well, of course. Key storylines for the Blue Jays here heading into this weekend. Number one is that the Blue Jays are playing more small ball this year, which has been kind of interesting. to watch. Laying out bunts. They got some speed in the offseason, which has helped them. Not just going for the big long ball every single time, which has kind of been their strategy over the past couple of years. Playing a bit more small ball. Is that going to help in the long run? Is that going to help them win games? It has worked for them for the most part so far, which brings me to the second key for this weekend, especially tonight and Saturday's game, is the rotation. Some big questions around the Blue Jays rotation, especially the top of it. Alek Manoah, who should be pitching the Saturday's matchup, absolutely terrible so far this season. This is a guy who was a popular pick to win the AL Cy Young this season. He has over 6 ERA already through his first 4 starts. His only good start was against the Kansas City Royals. And UC Kikuchi is kind of an interesting case because he's absolutely stunk for the Blue Jays last year. I went and watched the Jays game in Toronto against the Angels. Kikuchi started and they lost 12-1, I think was the final score. But then he had a great spring training. I think he had the lowest ERA of all starting pitchers in spring training. And then it's been a roller coaster his first 3 starts. He has 2 good starts where he gave up 1 earned run each, and then 1 start where he gave up 6. So Friday night's game, I'm going to be keeping a close eye on Kikuchi once again. Which version of Kikuchi shows up? The guy who allowed 1 earned run in 2 starts and had a great spring training, or the guy who was terrible last year and was terrible against the Angels this year as well? And then Kevin Gausman still been good. Chris Bassett, who was supposed to be a good pickup for us in the offseason, he hasn't been great. So a lot of questions surrounding the Blue Jays rotation. Both obviously Jose Barrios hasn't been good. So that's going to be a key thing to keep an eye on this weekend. Kikuchi tonight, Manoah tomorrow. Those are 2 big question marks. I'm sure Gausman will put in a strong performance on Sunday. So yeah, those are the key storylines surrounding the Blue Jays. We did find some odds to win the series, and it's a pick 'em. One sportsbook has it at -115 each to win the series. Obviously, in a 3-game series, someone has to win it. So Peter, would you go with your Yankees right now, -115 to win the series?
To be honest, I don't think I would, just based on the pitching matchups. The Yankees have Domingo Germán and Clark Schmidt pitching in the series. They've only won 2 starts between those 2 guys all season long. So it's going to be an uphill battle. Obviously, they got Garrett Cole going on Saturday. So if you steal tonight, got a good chance going forward. But yeah, I don't know. Clark Schmidt has been very concerning. We'll definitely talk about that when we get to game 3. The one thing I am intrigued about, though, is the Yankees' run differential. It's early in the season. It's much better than the Jays. They're +29. The Jays are -12.
Yes.
So Jays bottom 10 in the league in run differential. The Yankees top 10. Not saying that's going to decide this series, but it's just a little interesting considering how close their records are.
Yes.
Toronto winning a lot of close games basically is what that kind of tells you. So will be interesting wise, if the starters can keep the game close at the end of the day, or the Jays going to keep pulling out close wins.
Yeah, it is interesting. Yeah, that a run differential, especially for the Jays, a sign of their poor pitching, because when they're losing big as well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into, we're going to go game by game, break down the odds and our best bet for each game, starting with a Friday night matchup, 7:05 p.m. Eastern is opening pitch tonight. As I mentioned, I will be there. It is Germán against Kikuchi. The odds, Yankees -135 favorites, Jays coming in at +114. The over-under set at 8.5. Peter, which way are you going for game 1?
Yeah, so I think game 1, the play to making this one is I'm going to take the under. Yankees are not good against left-handed pitching. Kikuchi, give him credit. His fastball velo is up a little bit this year. He's had 2 good starts. Yankees just 23rd in Major League Baseball in OPS against left-handed pitching. And Domingo Germán's coming off his best start of the year. He went 6 1/3 innings, struck out 11 against the Twins. I think the thing with Germán, I think he's going to be the Yankees' 5th starter if they're completely healthy. But his StatCast profile, his advanced numbers really aren't that bad so far this year. He's in the 71st percentile, or 68th percentile or better in expected ERA, expected batting average, and hard hit percentage. And he's 90th percentile in strikeout percentage. So he's getting people to swing and miss. I think the under's the play here. Yankees bullpen's been really good so far this season. If they're not going to get to a lefty, they didn't really hit great in their series against the Angels this week. So I don't mind 8.5. I don't mind taking the under here, hoping Germán can have another good start.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I don't have a feel for the total. I'm going to take my Blue Jays tonight. I do believe in Kikuchi, not necessarily because I think he's turned into a good pitcher this season, but for a point that you brought up, Peter, and that's that the Yankees have been terrible against lefties so far this season. Their OPS dropped significantly from when they're facing right-handed pitchers compared to left-handed pitchers. And of course, Kikuchi's a lefty. The other thing that I think, and I think you brought this up earlier about the Yankees, has been their bullpen. Heading into tonight, the best bullpen ERA in the majors. Do they actually have the best bullpen? I don't think so. I think they're an average bullpen. I think we're gonna see some regression from the Yankees bullpen, and I think we're gonna see it this weekend. So not only do I think the Blue Jays win on Friday night, I think it is a late come from behind victory by the Blue Jays. They're going to score the winning runs in either the 8th or 9th inning. How about that for a prediction? The Yankees bullpen implodes on itself on Friday night.
I don't mind. I agree with you. The Yankees bullpen, the regression's coming just because they have. I mean, Loizaga's on the IL. Like the guys, and to mention the Yanks Go Yard podcast, Adam Weinrib and I talked about this. Like the guys they have back there: Clay Holmes, Michael King, Wandy Peralta, Ron Marinaccio. Like those are the four that you can really trust. And everybody else, it's kind of like they're pitching well, but how much longer is like the Ian Hamiltons, the Colton Brewers of the world going to keep pitching well? Because it's just not really their track record yet. So I don't mind that. I think the Yankees, the other thing is too, is their bullpen has pitched a ton of innings this year so far. So when you're asking your bullpen to pitch a lot and you're asking guys that, aren't necessarily proven to continue to pitch well, at some point it's going to come back to bite you. So I don't mind that play. I think part of the reason why I'm taking the under is hoping that bullpen regression doesn't happen. Hope we can get through, first 5-6 innings. And it's a fairly low scoring game, but obviously if they do implode, it benefits the Jays.
Yes. It kind of reminds me of the Jays bullpen last season, to be honest. They got off to a super hot start. And then they kind of imploded as the season went on. It ended up being kind of an average bullpen by the end of the year. All right, let's move on to Saturday's game. I will not be at this game. I've already seen a Garrett Cole start this year. I watched them against the Twins last weekend. The game lasted 2 hours and 10 minutes. Not a fan of the pitch clock when you're watching a game in person. I got up to get a sausage at one point, and I missed an entire inning. Not just half an inning. I missed an entire inning just getting a sausage.
It's quick, dude.
Garrett Cole played a complete game shutout. So, I mean, it was a defensive battle, which speeds games up as well. Didn't feel like I got my money's worth. So I'm not going to fall for that trap again. I'm not going to Saturday's game, but it's going to happen. 1:05 p.m. start. It is Garrett Cole against Alek Manoah. Almost the exact same odds for this game. Yankees -135 favorites. Jays +115. The total for this game at 7.5. Peter, which way are you going for this game?
Yeah, I'm taking the Yanks to win. I like them on the money line here. You just look at Garrett Cole so far this season. He's allowed 3 earned runs in 4 starts. He's in the 81st percentile in expected ERA, 32 strikeouts and 28 1/3 innings pitched, coming off that complete game shutout. And Alek Manoah just has not been good. He's got over a 6 ERA. 3 starts, he's kind of gotten rocked. He pitched well against the Kansas City Royals, but they're one of the worst teams in baseball. So hard to put a ton of stock into that. Obviously, like Manoah's a great pitcher. I don't think there's anything to be concerned about. It's 4 starts into the year. Guys get off to slow starts, but just Garrett Cole's hot right now. I think you kind of got to ride the Yankees when Cole is pitching well, especially at home. I am surprised that these odds are the same as Friday's games. I just don't think there's as big of an advantage as for the Yankees on Friday as there is on Saturday, just because of how well Cole's pitched. So I kind of feel like you're getting a little bit of value here on the Yankees comparatively based on, what these 2 days look like. So I like the Yanks to win. I think Cole pitch as well kind of gets them to a victory.
I think maybe those odds indicate that odds makers think that Alek Manoah is going to pitch better than what he's pitched so far this season, based on his history of work the past 2 seasons. I mean, if you look at last season's numbers, Manoah and Cole were pretty close to each other. So
yeah, I'm
thinking that's what the odds are based off of. I'm going to stay away from a side. I'm going to go total in this game instead. I'm actually going to take the over. I don't, even though the kind of odds indicate that he is going to see some positive regression for Alek Manoah, and based on his last 2 seasons, we probably should expect that. I'm not buying into it yet. I need to see it against a good team, a team not named the Kansas City Royals, for me to think, and I need to see it a couple games in a row because his bad starts have been bad this year. And also don't forget, in terms of Garrett Cole, he's not going to hold a 0.87 ERA for the entire season. He's going to regress at least a little bit at some point. And the Jays did get to Garrett Cole last year. And obviously the big names are still there in Toronto. He had a 5 ERA in 3 starts against the Blue Jays last year. So this Blue Jays lineup knows how to get to Cole. It's a pretty low total of 7.5. Like I said, bullpen regression from the Yankees, and the Blue Jays going to have an average bullpen to begin with anyways. So I think it's a little bit too low of a total. I like the over 7.5 for Saturday's game.
I don't mind that, especially at Yankee Stadium, susceptible to home runs. You know, you get a couple solo shots early. It could push this thing over.
All right, let's move on to Sunday afternoon's game. I'll be back at Yankee Stadium for this game. Schmidt against Gausman. Clearly a pitching advantage for the Blue Jays in this one. Odds have not been released for Sunday's matchup yet, but we can guess based on the pitching matchup. The Jays, I'm going to guess, are probably going to be slight favorites. I would guess probably minus 130, would you say, in favor of the Jays? Obviously, no idea what the total is going to be. It's kind of going to be up in the air with one's bad starting pitcher and one good starting pitcher. What is your pick for this game? Obviously, these aren't picks that we have locked in yet because odds aren't available. But based on what we assume the odds are going to be, which way are you going to lean?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Jays to win this game. I think once it comes out, Clark Schmidt has just been god awful this year. He hasn't gotten past the 4th inning in any of his starts. He's allowed 3 or more runs in every single start. You just can't get away with that. And we've talked about the Yankees bullpen a lot in this. If the Yankees bullpen has to pitch a lot on one of those first 2 games, there's almost a guarantee they're going to have to pitch a lot on Sunday. You're just playing with fire at that point. At some point, somebody's going to break and give up some runs. So I don't see Clark Schmidt beating Gausman. You look at Gausman's last 3 starts, he's pitched 20 innings. He's allowed just 3 earned runs. He had a bad first start and has really rebounded since then. He was fantastic last year against the Yankees too, if I remember correctly. So I think Clark Schmidt, just anytime he's on the mound, it's really hard to bet on the Yankees. I would assume the Jays are favorites, but if for some reason it's closer to a pick-em or whatever, I jump all over Toronto to win that game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a little bit of a different one for this game. I'm going to go Yankees team total under. Now, we don't know what it is. I'm going to guess it's going to be 3.5 would be my guess. That's the basic team total when it's a good pitcher that they're going against and a pretty solid offense out of the Yankees. But I think you mentioned it there, Peter. Gausman actually did do very well against this Yankees lineup last season. 1.89 ERA in 3 starts against the Yankees last year. And the Yankees offense, despite them winning games, their offense has been pretty average. I think around 15th in OPS, 15th in runs scored. So I'll just bank on another strong performance by Gausman against this Yankees lineup. I'm going to go team total under, I think.
Yeah, I don't mind that play at all. I think the other way to look at this too is if the Yankees win these first 2 games, if they pull out the first 2 wins of the series, it's just at some point like they're going to have to get some good offensive performances to do it, especially tonight. So I think Gausman's the guy that gives them the most trouble in that rotation. I would not want to fade him.
Jay Castillo in the chat says, hammer Manoah to stink it up until he proves otherwise. I agree. That's why I'm taking the over in that game. I mean, yeah, probably take the Yankees as well, especially if I were to bet a side, I'd probably go Yankees, but I can't stomach betting on the New York Yankees against my Toronto Blue Jays, unfortunately. But yeah, I think you take Yankees money line or go the over just based on the Blue Jays history against Garrett Cole last season. But yeah, and I agree, until he proves otherwise, let's go against Manoah for now.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things early in the season. You kind of have to just there's not much we can go off of for this year. So if a guy's not pitching well, guy's not hitting well, until they start turning it around, you just got to keep rolling with it because it's too hard to guess when that switch is going to flip,
Right. That's the tricky part about betting early season baseball is bad pitchers, or even the opposite thing would be pitchers who are overperforming. It's like, are they overperforming or are they just getting off to a hot start, or are they underperforming, or are they just getting off to a bad start? And trying to decide which side you're going to back on or bet on is the challenge of betting on early season baseball, especially because pitchers, we've only seen them 3 times, 4 times at most.
Yeah, exactly.
So there you have it. Any final thoughts, Peter, for Yankees Blue Jays?
Yeah, I'm excited. I just think this is going to be a fun series. These 2 teams I kind of pegged as 1-2 in the division coming into the year. So I still think that could be true. I think
Yes.
Tampa Bay had a very, very easy start to the year.
Yes.
Granted, they did what they were supposed to do, but a little bit of an overreaction how much the division odds have moved. So I think between these two teams, it's going to be a very, very good battle. It was last year, even though the Yankees ended up having that big lead, the Jays really closed the gap towards the end of the season. So I think this is the first of, several big series between these teams. I think it's going to be fun to kind of see where they stack up at this point.
Yep, couldn't agree more. I was going to say the exact same thing. I'm not buying in on the early season Rays. The Rays are going to be a playoff team. They're going to be a good team, but I still think this division is between the Yankees and the Blue Jays, and this will be a pivotal and fun series to watch starting tonight, Friday night, 7:05 p.m. Eastern. Well, there you have it. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. This has been a little special edition of the Baseball Insiders on YouTube. Peter and I will be doing a few of these throughout the season, more than just the Blue Jays and the Yankees. But like I said at the top, felt this is a good time to roll things out. Excited for the series. Should be fun. Thank you all so much for watching. Adam and Robert will be back next week. I assume so. And they'll talk to you then. And Peter and I will talk to you at some point in the future. Good luck with your bets. We'll talk to you later.